Hello, and welcome to your Intro to Programming and Python lecture. Just as a review from last time, we talked about different ways that you can run code. For instance, you could open up a terminal or a command prompt and type one line of Python in at a time. You can also use different IDEs like idle, which probably came with your installation of Python, or Atom, which is what we're using in this class. Remember, Python is an interpreted language, which means instead of having to compile an entire set of instructions or a script at one time and then running all of it, we can actually run one line at a time, which allows us to do things like run one line at a time in terminal. All right, so we've secretly been using them this whole time, but let's talk a little bit about scripts. So scripts are files. They're actually just text files, like simpler versions of a Word document that store all of the code that you might write. For instance, in this class, we've used a lot of .py files, which is a Python script containing all Python code. Scripts have many different parts, and as you code more, they'll probably get more complicated. So let's talk a little bit about what those parts are. All right, let's talk a little bit about a part of a program that you may not have seen before. In Python, we usually have a bunch of import statements, and these import statements are basically saying, hey, someone wrote some code for us and we would like to use it. Please go get that code for me. This code, also called modules or packages, are basically things that you've downloaded onto your computer to use, even though you're not writing that code specifically in your script. You're using it from someone else's package or module in order to execute their code in your script. We won't do a ton of importing in this class. However, if you ever use Python in another class, you probably will have a ton of import statements. For instance, in my data science class, our imports are usually 10, 12 lines long at the very beginning of our program. The next part of a program that you might see are functions. These are blocks of code that you wrote yourself. So remember, modules and packages are code that someone else wrote that you would like to use. Functions are code that you wrote that you would like to use over and over. We'll learn a lot more about functions as the semester progresses, but just remember, functions are in your code, you've written them, and they are things that you're going to use over and over. Then, of course, at its simplest form, we have statements and expressions. Statements are basically a command for Python to do something, whereas expressions are a computation that you're asking Python to do. For instance, you can see an example on this screen. If I ask Python to multiply 2 times 2, that's an expression. It returns a value, which hopefully is 4, so it's an expression. Statements, on the other hand, tell Python to do something. So for instance, we have an assignment statement at the bottom here, x equals 4. This isn't doing a computation to return something to us, rather it's telling Python to do something. Store this variable for me. Now, another really important part of code that you've already seen are comments. Remember in the first lecture that I said that one thing that's really important is that you can read your code later and that other people can read your code. So comments are going to be a huge part of your coding process, especially as you're just getting started. Also, in addition, when I'm grading your work, comments are a great way to tell me exactly what you're trying to do so I can give you partial credit and understand your code a little bit better. There's 2 main ways to do comments in Python. One, which you've already seen, is using a hashtag. And the hashtag is basically a signal to Python when it's reading through your file that anything after that is not going to be code and shouldn't be read by the computer. For instance, in the code that I used on the previous slide, you can see that I clearly labeled this is an expression and this is a statement, which really helped my code be a little bit more understandable. Now, you can have comments that are either on their own line like these are, or you can have inline comments. Inline comments happen after a line of code, but on the same line. For instance, I could have put this comment expression after the 2 times 2 if I wanted to have an inline comment. It's really up to you which you want to use, but both of them are available to you, and I highly recommend you comment as much as possible. Next, we have a little bit less of a common way to do comments, which is if you ever need to do multi-line comments. Notice that in a comment, only the line after the hashtag is going to be ignored by the computer. If you tried to press enter and continue writing your comment, it actually would try to read it as code. If you ever have a comment that needs to be multiple lines, you can actually use 3 quotation marks, so 3 single quotation marks. If you open a comment with 3 and close it with 3, Python will not execute that code at all, and you can use it like a comment, but multiple lines. So you might be thinking, well, what should I comment? And my answer to that is, if you are ever questioning whether you should comment something, you probably should. Comments should be used to answer questions like, what does this do and how does it do it? So in my code here, you can see that it is telling you, what does this code do? Well, this one is an expression and this one is a statement. When we have more complicated code, we also might want to specify a little more about how our code is actually running something. Basically, if you think that a little bit of notation will help you or I understand your code better, put it there in a comment. Now, the next part of a script or a program that is very interesting and important is Whitespace. I mentioned in our first intro lecture that Whitespace is very important in Python. However, there are times when you can completely ignore Whitespace. And just as a reminder, Whitespace is basically anything where there's no actual physical character. For instance, a space or an enter or a tab. Anything like that is considered Whitespace in Python. Now, in expressions and statements, Python very kindly ignores all of your whitespace. So for instance, you can see here on line 2 and 3, these two are equivalent. Even though there's a ton of spaces here and here, these two are going to run the same way because Python is basically ignoring the whitespace that occurs in these two similar statements. However, there are times when you're not going to be able to ignore whitespace. For instance, you can't put whitespace in between things that are supposed to go together. For instance, we're going to learn about the less than or equal to operator, which checks, as you might guess, whether a number is less than or equal to another number. Because these two things go together in a meaningful way, it is okay to put spaces around this operator, but not between it. This will actually give you an error. Next, and this will make a little bit more sense as we get a bit deeper into the course, Python uses whitespace at the beginning of a line to indicate indentation. For instance, at the bottom of the screen here, you can see that there's a bunch of whitespace between this start of the line and the print statement on line 13. That actually means something to Python and is a way that Python organizes your code. As we learn things like if statements and for loops, you'll get a bit of a better understanding for how this works, but just for now, remember, whitespace is important in Python, although there are some times that we can ignore it. Because whitespace is meaningful in certain situations in Python, it's important that you're consistent with your whitespace. For instance, try and use spaces for all your indentations instead of tabs, and certainly don't mix tabs and spaces, otherwise you can run into some issues. All right, next let's talk about tokens. Tokens are basically symbols or phrases that mean something special in the Python language. For instance, we have keywords like if, else, and list, which we'll learn about later, which mean something directly to Python. Similarly, we have operators that just mean something to Python, like plus, minus, divide, multiply, etc. We also have punctuation and delimiters, which basically are things that help organize our code. The hashtag, in order to do a comment in Python, is one of those things that has special meaning to Python. Similarly, brackets and curly brackets, as well as parentheses, commas, all these different types of punctuation mean something to Python and basically tell Python what's going on in your code. Last but not least, we have things called literals. These are things like integers or decimal numbers or true and false values. These actually mean something to Python. For instance, 123 means the number 123, and true means that a value is actually true. Because these are tokens and they have special meaning, it means that we can't have them be variables in our program. They already have a role to play and we can't overwrite those. Now, let's talk a little bit about variables. So variables are just names for containers that we store things in for our code. And when we're using variables, we want to be very careful about what we name our variables. So here are some do's and some don'ts. Variables can be very flexible, but one rule is that you have to have your variable start with a letter or an underscore. However, I will say that don't really use the underscore as the first symbol in your variable name because that can often mean something special to developers. It's not that it's wrong, and Python will certainly let you do it, but as you get more and more in depth in Python, you'll learn that underscores at the beginning of variable names mean something, and therefore we try not to use them, although technically it's allowed. Next, use any length of variable name you want. I mean, remember the fact that you're going to have to type this over and over, but you can use as many characters as you would like, and the more descriptive your variable name is, the better. Another thing to watch out for is case. In Python, uppercase versus lowercase are totally different things, so you need to make sure that you have the right case when declaring and using all of your variables. For instance, that you can see that this code in the lower hand left-hand corner, all of these are viable variable names. Even though we don't really want to start things with underscores, technically Python will allow us to do so. Now let's go over some don'ts for variable names. First, don't start your variable names with a number. Python will just not allow you to do it, so don't even try. And next, related to what we talked about before, don't use any tokens or keywords as your variable names. For instance, we know that the words for and mean something special in Python, and therefore we can't use them as variable names. In fact, most IDEs for certain Atom actually will color these keywords something different, so you'll be able to pretty quickly tell that you've chosen a variable name that is a keyword. For instance, in this code example, all of these are very bad variable names. So bad, in fact, that Python will not let you use them. For more information on how to better name your variables in line with how professional programmers do, check out this PEP8 naming convention website. The TLDR here is name your variables whatever you want, but make sure they're clear. Remember, it's really important for scripts and code to be understandable by you and by other people later on. And specifically in this class, make sure that your variables are easy to read for me because it makes my life so much easier when I am grading your code. All right, now that we've talked about choosing names, let's talk about how to create a variable. In Python, variables are created the first time they're used, and this is actually slightly different than in other languages if you coded in them. For instance, in this snippet, you can see we have created the variable Chelsea is the best and set it equal to true, which means once we run this line of code, the variable Chelsea is the best exists. Next, we can talk a little bit about variable assignment. So you may have noticed in our code that we use one equal sign to mean assignment. This tells the computer to look at whatever's on the right-hand side and assign it to whatever container or variable is on the left-hand side. This means a couple of things. First, we can change what is stored inside that variable container. Look at the first two lines of this code. We have the same variable, Chelsea is the best, and first we set it equal to true. But maybe I do something that you hate and you decide I am not the best, and therefore you set the variable Chelsea is the best equal to false. Now, it's really important to remember this direction, right? We take what's on the right-hand side of the equation and put it in the container on the left. That implies that whatever's on the left-hand side of your equation must be a variable. For instance, this on line 5 is not valid Python code because while we have the same elements of Chelsea is the best and true, we are always going from right to left in Python, and we can't have a variable called true, so there's no variable on our left-hand side, and Python would throw an error in response to this. There are a bunch of things you can't do in Python, and trust me, as the course goes on, you will learn many of them because you've done them, but let me go ahead and go over some common ones that happen. First, similar to the example that we just looked at, we can't have anything that's not a variable on the left-hand side of an assignment. So for instance, this might make sense to you in English. We could say 7 equals Chelsea is the best plus 1, which if Chelsea is the best is 6, that would make sense. However, in Python, we're always reading these assignments as take whatever is the value on the right-hand side and put it in the container on the left-hand side. However, the number 7 is not a valid container name because it is a number and not a variable. Next, on line 4, we can see something that looks a little bit better. There is a variable on the left-hand side. However, we have an operation on the left-hand side. Remember that the only thing that should be on the left-hand side here is your variable name. We can't actually do operations like addition on the left-hand side of an assignment. So here, even though this makes sense to our English brains, this is not valid Python code. This would have to be Chelsea is the best alone on the left-hand side, equals, and then whatever we want to store in that variable container. Finally, we can't actually print assignments. So if you wanted to print out x, you would have to declare the variable x and say x equals 4, and then print out x by itself. We cannot print out an assignment directly. All right, that's all I have for you. I will see you guys for the next lecture.